In this video we're gonna speak about 3 action cameras which are owned by the company Insta360. I will tell you for what occasion I use each individual camera and what camera is best for you. So at the end of this review we're gonna find out which camera is best for you and if it makes sense to get one of these cameras. I'm not gonna use any notes for today's video, it's all my own experience that I got using all 3 cameras. And if you like this video you can find all of them in the video description below to support my channel. Thank you. So that is the Insta360 X4, that's a 360-degree camera. Here's the Insta360 GO 3 and then I have this one here, that is the Insta360 Ace Pro. Let's start with the smallest version, that is the Insta360 GO 3. You can take out this tiny little camera, which has a magnet by the way, so you can place it anywhere you want. It comes with a magnetic chain, that means you can put this camera to your shirt and shoot completely hands-free. It also comes with a head adapter, so you can play basketball for instance, or do other extreme sport activities like windsurfing or snowboarding completely hands-free from that camera. And if you want to expand the battery life, you simply place this camera in the action pod, which is kind of a housing. So in here you charge the camera and it has also its own battery. So it can charge the camera inside here while it's been charged also at the same time. It also has its own screen. So you can film yourself, you can watch all the files that you took using this camera, you can delete the files straight here from the action pod. And anytime you want to get like really crazy shots, you can take out this camera again. The maximum resolution, however, is here 2.7K with up to 30 frames per second. You can also take a free frame video using this camera in 1440p. That means the camera is recording in landscape mode and at the same time in portrait mode. So later on you can decide if you want to export this file into a landscape mode for YouTube for instance, or if you would like to make a YouTube Shorts, TikTok or Reel out of it. It has all the same features like both other cameras, for instance time shift, time lapse, star lapse and also slow motion. It can take also photos, and using all of these 3 cameras you have direct access to all the files using the Insta360 app. So anytime you want to do hands-free videos and have a tiny little camera with you that you can place anywhere, get the Insta360 GO 3. However, since it does have a much smaller sensor than both of the other 2 cameras, the low light performance is alright, but it's not the best. We'll speak about low light performance in a second. And it has its own storage. So you have to decide before buying this camera what kind of storage you need. So there you cannot put in a micro SD card, for instance, to get longer videos or to take more photos. So anytime the storage is full, you need to transfer the files either onto your phone or your computer. Then we come to the next camera, which is the Insta360 Ace Pro. At the moment, that is my most favorite action camera on the market because it has so many features that other manufacturers don't offer you. First of all, it has a much bigger sensor than this camera here. It has a Leica lens and AI features, and things that have been added to this camera is, for instance, gesture control. So anytime you don't have your phone with you and you cannot touch the camera at the same time, you can do things like this and the camera will start to record a video. You can do things like this and it starts to take a photo. Super nice. It allows you to take videos with a maximum resolution of 8K with up to 30 frames per second. And if you just need detail-rich videos, you can take also videos in 4K with up to 120 frames per second for slow motion. If you're unsure what kind of frame rate you require, I would say for normal videos like having a conference with someone and you don't want to waste too much data, just take either 25 or 30 frames per second. And if you want to get this kind of more fluent looking videos, take a higher frame rate of either 50 or 60 frames per second. Keep in mind, the higher the frame rate, the less good will the low light performance be. So anytime you're in low light, I would suggest to take either 24, 25 or 30 frames per second. It allows you also to take HDR clips, and of course you can change the battery, so you can buy a spare battery, and you can extend the storage up to 1 terabyte if you want to, using a micro SD card. All of these 3 cameras enjoy a feature that I celebrate so much, and that's called timed capture. Time capture is a feature that I would use anytime I don't want to touch the camera, let's say 2:30 in the morning. So anytime you're sleeping in your tent or your caravan and you're out there to take a time lapse at 2:30, for instance, in the morning, you can tell the camera to wake up at 2:30 in the morning and to do exactly this. Taking a time lapse or a star lapse, for instance, without even touching the camera or your phone. I think Insta360 is the only manufacturer at the time that does it to have a flip screen. And that is so nice because you can adjust all your settings from this side here, having a larger screen than with all the other manufacturers. So you can change the frame rate, you can change the shooting mode, you can see yourself that the camera is tracking you. And then you have that small screen here that allows you to see in what mode you are in. Let's say 4K shooting with 25 frames per second, for instance, or if you're in photo mode and you took already 500 photos, for instance. This camera is also waterproof down to 10 meters, same as this one here. And if you want to dive deeper, let's say 50 meters, you need to get a separate housing. All three of them offer you different field of views. This camera also offers pure video, which is best for low light scenes. So anytime you walk through a city and it's dark, you want to have everything that is dark lighted up, and everything that is overexposed, for instance light commercials, the camera will regulate that down. So you have kind of an equal contrast, which is super nice. You can add a microphone adapter to this camera to use all your microphones to get the best audio if you want to use this camera as a vlogging camera. It does take really nice photos with up to 48 megapixels, and it allows you also to take raw pictures, same as this camera and this camera here. So if you're looking for an action camera that is one of the best ones on the market that you can get at the moment, I would definitely go with the Insta360 Ace Pro. By the way, here on the lower side is a quick mounting that I can put on this camera. It has this typical action mount, and here on the lower side a tripod thread. Then we come to the latest flagship of Insta360, and here is the Insta360 X4. It's a 360-degree camera. However, you can use each lens also individually. So you can only film the front or the back with a maximum resolution of 4K 60 frames per second if you don't want to have that 360-degree view. However, if you plan to have a 360-degree camera, you can use this camera and film yourself in 8K with a maximum frame rate of 30 frames per second. If you don't need 8K, you can film yourself in 5.7K with up to 60 frames per second. It has great features like HDR, star lapse, time shift, time lapse, a burst mode, and you can take photos with a maximum resolution of 72 megapixels. You can record time lapses with a maximum resolution of 11K. It has a super long battery life, and you can extend the storage using a micro SD. You can also use it as a webcam, same as this one here. So you can place it on your desk and you can film in both sides. So if you have a conference with 6 people sitting at the desk, you can film on this side and also on the other side. And one of the coolest gadgets that you can get for this camera is a 3-meter selfie stick, which you can attach straight away to this camera. And the camera is going to ignore that selfie stick, which gives you kind of a drone look. So anytime you walk somewhere where you wouldn't use a drone to damage it, you can use the 3-meter selfie stick, place the camera over you, and it looks like a drone shot, which looks super amazing. As I said earlier, it's waterproof, and you can buy a dive housing for that camera. And if you're now thinking, why should you get this camera if this camera has already all the features you need, since you don't have to record yourself in 360-degree space? Let me tell you something, not all the features that this camera has on its single lens mode are available here on its single lens mode. So you cannot take a time shift or a time lapse video using its single lens mode. If these ones are 2 features that you might need, because I like time shift videos and I also like time lapse videos. However, this camera allows you to take it anywhere using a selfie stick, for instance, and film what you want in post. So if you think, well, at this stage I want to film the front, 2 minutes later I want to film the back, or it's a super nice guy, let's film that later on, you can do that all in post. It has tracking features if you want to use that for surfing or snowboarding. And all of these three cameras let you record time lapses and time shift videos. And if you're thinking now, what is the difference between a time lapse and a time shift? A time lapse is something that I would use if I'm standing stationary with that camera, for instance, mounted on a tripod. You can set an interval and everything that happens between intervals is skipped from that camera, and the camera is only getting together the images and make a full time-lapse video out of it. A time shift video is a video where no frames are skipped, and at the end you can decide at which speed you want to play back the video. So anytime you are in motion, I would go for a time shift. And personally, I use the Ace Pro as a vlogging camera with its stunning low light performance. And anytime I'm doing reviews for you, I mount the Insta360 X4 on my cameras to give you my photographer's perspective, which looks like this. And anytime I'm taking photos using both of my hands, I either attach the GO 3 to my head or on the magnetic chain to get my field of view. So I hope you enjoyed watching this comparison between those three cameras. So if you need a tiny little action camera where you cannot use an external microphone on, get the Insta360 GO 3, but keep in mind you cannot record 4K videos. Anytime you're looking for one of the best action cameras on the market with a flip screen, 8K video, slow motion in 4K with up to 120 frames per second, stunning low light performance, great audio capabilities, 48 megapixel photos, get the Ace Pro. And anytime you want to reach totally new perspectives where you can decide later on in post what you would like to see later on the final image, go for the Insta360 X4, which allows you to take videos in 8K, time lapses in 11K if you want, and photos with a maximum resolution of 72 megapixels. If you do have any further questions, please make sure to leave a comment below. You will find the memory card and all the three cameras in a link provided in the video description below. Thanks for your undivided attention. See you next time und tschüss.